cha dharmasya sarvadharmasvarupine avatara varisthaya Ramakrishnaya te namaha. So, we are going to start discussion on the Narada Bhakti Sutra. Just as an introduction, that what this Bhakti Sutra speaks of, it speaks of a treatise on the Bhakti Shastra, on the way of devotion, the path of devotion. So, this Bhakti is quite important in the way that we find that Sri Ramakrishna used to say that the best path to union with God is to follow the way of divine love as taught by Narada. So Sri Ramakrishna also is referring to this Narada Bhakti Sutra when he is instructing the devotees about this Bhakti as the best path to union with God. So according to Narada, that why it is the best path? This path of devotion is the easiest path. According to Narada, as we will proceed with the sutras, there are 84 sutras, there are 84 such aphorisms. So when we start, we will find that there Narada is referring to bhakti as the easiest path to attain God. Now let us try to have an idea that why Rishi Narada is speaking of bhakti as the easiest path. Now, there are 4 major ways for God realization. As we know in the Hindu way of life, the Karma Yoga, the Jnana Yoga, the Raja Yoga and the Bhakti Yoga. These are the 4 ways of realizing God. So, what these yogas mean. In short, let us try to understand before we proceed to the Bhakti aphorisms. So the Karma Yoga. The Karma Yoga is an approach to God through selfless action. So what this selfless action means? Now all actions are performed by default through either attachment or aversion or fear. Extreme clinging to life is called, in another way, find expression as fear of death. So from where these 3 afflictions arise? So we find in the Yoga Shastra they speak of Pancha Klesha, 5 afflictions. What are they? Avidya, Asmita, Raga, Dvesha, Abhinivesha. So what are these? Avidya. Avidya is the first, the ignorance. That somehow the Atman, the conscious principle, God got associated with the body-mind complex. And once it gets associated with the body-mind complex, it sees its reflection in the body-mind complex. It starts taking the reflection to be real, to be its nature. And it gets identified with the body-mind complex associated with that reflection. As a result, what happens? The self is eternal. It is ever fulfilled. There is no need for any external material for its sustenance. Just as a living being, we need food for our sustenance. The self as such doesn't need any external help for its sustenance. Nothing can destroy it. Nothing can in any way affect it. So that's the self. But when it gets associated with the body-mind complex, because of ignorance, because of avidya, asmita develops, the ego, that I am this body-mind complex, and something from within is constantly asserting that you are eternal, you are ever fulfilled. But I find, but the being finds, each and every being finds that it is not eternal. Its association with the body-mind complex makes it feel it is not eternal. If the body dies, it will die. But someone from within is saying you're eternal. To realize that eternity, now what it does, anything which is favorable for its body-mind complex, for the sustenance of the body-mind complex, it gets attached to it. So that is called raga. Anything which is not favorable for the sustenance of its body-mind complex, it develops aversion for it. That is called dvesha, aversion. And in the process, the being gets so much attached to life that it starts fearing death. It starts clinging to life. And that is called abhinivesha. We can understand with a very simple example. What to speak of human being, each and every being, even a small microbe. That also we will find once the conscious principle has got associated with the microbe body, that ignorance develops, that I am this microbe body, asmita comes, and from that the raga, dvesha, abhinivesha, these three afflictions, they evolve. We can understand it very easily. That suppose in a laboratory you are performing some experiment. Suppose there is in a petri dish, there is some culture, and the teacher says that it is full of microbes. They are all just moving around, haphazardly moving around. And I look through the microscope and I do see that this minute particle-like organisms, which cannot be seen by our eyes, they are all moving randomly. They almost look like randomly moving particles. Now to prove that actually they are not inanimate particles, they are life, the teacher, what he does, he puts a drop of nutrient in the center of the petri dish. And immediately all those microbes which were moving haphazardly, they all gather direction. They start moving towards the nutrient. Raga, that this is the thing which is going to sustain me. Now instead of the nutrient, if in the center of the petri dish some toxic material, some matter is kept, a drop of toxic matter, we will find the direction has changed. All are moving away from it. That speaks of dvesha, that speaks of abhinivesha, fear of death, clinging to life, aversion for something which is detrimental for its psychophysical existence. So that's the dvesha and the abhinivesha. So these three we find is the result of asmita, the ego, which has been generated because of avidya, ignorance. Now, the scripture says that all the actions, let's say that even for the microbe, from where the action generated, it was either moving towards the nutrient or it was moving away from the toxin. So that speaks of the action. From where the action has been generated? From this raga, dvesha, abhinivesha. From raga speaks of attachment, and dvesha and abhinivesha speaks of fight and flight response. So these are the three afflictions, raga, dvesha, abhinivesha, which is responsible for all the actions in living beings. And in Karma Yoga, what they say, that the action itself is not the cause of bondage. What's the cause of bondage? It is those afflictions, the raga, dvesha, abhinivesha, attachment, hatred, fear. These are the things, these are the afflictions which is the cause of bondage. So if I can get rid of these three, the action may continue, the action may go on. If I can get rid of this raga, dvesha, abhinivesha, the action can go on, but in time, the impulse with which that action has started, that impulse, that gets weakened. That force doesn't remain anymore. It gets exhausted. And then it renders freedom to the soul. It's no more bound in that cycle of avidya, kama, karma. Ignorance resulting in desire, desire resulting in action. It can come out of it. So this is the basic idea of Karma Yoga, that you can go on with your action, but do it selflessly. The example which we give again and again, just in the summer season, the fan is revolving. What's the way to stop the fan? We just switch off. Does the fan stop immediately? No. Because of its past inertia, it goes on revolving for some time to stop at last. So here also the same thing. What's the current? What's the driving force behind all our action? Just for the fan, it was the electricity. For our actions, it is the desires, the karma. Switching off means I am just trying to do the actions selflessly. I cannot stop the actions immediately because of the prarabdha. The past impulses has resulted in this birth, and I have to exhaust the impulse, the force with which these actions have started. I have to exhaust. I cannot suddenly stop it. So what I do, I switch off. I do try to do it selflessly. And then in time, when the prarabdha gets exhausted, that enters in the liberation of the soul. Now it's not very easy to stop the desire behind the action. So what's the best way? As in the Bhagavad Gita, the idea of Karma Yoga, we will find he's saying that nimitta matra bhava. There be an instrument in the hand of the divine. What it means? This is a common example which we give again and again. When the mother loves the child, if she feels she is loving the child, that kartritva, that I am the one who is loving, I am the karta, I am the doer. This loving, I am the one who is loving. The moment she feels that, that enters in bondage. Expectation is bound to come as a result. I cannot do it selflessly. Or that all the love I give, if the child even behaves a bit awkwardly, behave a bit rudely, the mother feels hurt. Why? Oh, I do so much. Even he cannot just behave properly with me. That why that reaction comes? Because the idea was, I am the one who is loving. But if I really try to find out, is it the mother who is loving? You will find in the entire nature, there is not a single mother who doesn't love the child. God has implanted that love in the heart of the mother to take care of his own creation. So it is God who has implanted that love. As if God is finding expression as love through the mother's heart. Mother is just the channel through which that love is finding expression. So if the mother is aware of this fact, now she knows, I am just an instrument, I am nimitta. It is God who is working through me. So what does it entail? Does it entail in stopping action? No. Whatever faculties God has given me, with that I do my best. But I know it is God who is working through me. And then there is no question of expectation. I do my best and leave it in the hand of the divine. So that's the basic idea of Karma Yoga. In short. So it speaks of action. I don't stop my action. Relentless action has to go on, but with the idea that I'm the instrument in the hand of the divine. I don't expect anything in return. Whatever I do it as a channel, as an instrument in the hand of the divine, and offer the results to the divine. So that's the way that one can think of getting rid of all the desires, which is the driving force behind all the action, and the actions become more and more selfless. That's the Karma Yoga. Let's just have an idea that why Bhakti Yoga is the easiest. First, let us have an idea, just a very, a short, cryptic idea. This highlighted idea of these 4 yogas. And then the Jnana Yoga. What does the Jnana Yoga speaks of? It speaks of vichara, discrimination. What is real, what is unreal. That in our day-to-day life we will find, we never say that I am the body. I never say. What we say? My body. That so we identify ourselves with the body-mind complex, but the language says we never think that I am the body. We say my body, my mind, my feelings, my emotions, my decision. When you say my, what it means? You possess something. You are not that. Just the way I say my watch, my pen, my car, my house. I am not the house. I am not the car. I am not the pen. I am not the watch. I possess them. So here also, these are the things I possess. They are not me. But because of that false identification, though in my language I say my body, my mind, but always I behave in such a way as if I am the body, I am the mind, I am the senses. So here consciously one have to detach oneself from this identification. By constantly doing that analysis, vichara, that I am not the body, not the mind, not the senses, not the intellect, then what am I? If you negate, at last what remains? Some say nothing remains. Now in Panchadashi there is a very nice example. What's that example? That they say that no, the Atman, the self, is the one who is the witness. That alone remains. And it speaks of a very interesting allegory. What's that allegory? The 10 common villages. They're very common person. Simple person. They're not educated. So they together were on a journey for some pilgrimage. On their way, they were all just moving together, and on their way a river came. The river was shallow. It was not very deep, but the stream was very strong. The current was very strong. So they all just warned each other that be very cautious while crossing. Be very cautious because after all the current is very strong. We can easily walk through over it because the water is shallow, but the current is very strong. So let us cross very cautiously. So they all crossed. Now after crossing, they thought, let's be sure that all of us have crossed the river. So how to be sure? Let us count that we are 10, whether all the 10 of us are here or not, let us count. So one person asked the others to stand in a row, and he started counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And now he was puzzled. Where is the 10th? Some other thought most probably he didn't count properly. He said, okay, you come in the queue. You can stand in the row. Let me count. So one by one they all counted, and they found that there are 9. And they were really puzzled. These simple fellows were very puzzled. Where is the 10th one? Who is the 10th one? Where is the 10th one? And there was someone who was passing by. He saw the entire thing and he was amused. And he thought, let me just help them out to find the 10th person. What? Now he came and he told, well, all of you stand in a queue. Let me count. So now he counted, he was 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now these persons were really puzzled that when you are counting, it's 10. When we are counting, it's 9. So now this passerby, he called one of this person. Well, now, okay, you again count. He counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Well, yeah, again it's 9. And then this passerby got hold of the person who was counting, his hand, he got hold of it and turned it toward himself. So, you are the 10th. Tvam dasamasi, you are the 10th. The one who is counting. So this is a wonderful idea. The one who is negating, is saying that I am not the mind, not the senses, not the thoughts, emotions, feelings. He is the self. So this is the idea of analysis as has been described in Panchadashi, and that speaks of the Jnana Yoga. That by negating by negating one by one these various layers of ignorance. As in Vedanta they are called as Pancha Kosha, Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha and Anandamaya Kosha. This first is Annamaya Kosha, this body. This is, with this we get identified. That's the Annamaya Kosha. Pranamaya Kosha. We say, when I am sick, I am sick. I am healthy. But actually it is just the vitality. I am not that. I am separate from that. But as I get identified with that, therefore I say I am sick. I am never sick. The real me is beyond all dualities. It is always there as it is, as a witness, as a conscious self. But as it gets identified, it says, I am sick, I am healthy. And in the mind, when there are thoughts or feelings, I am thinking such and such thing. This is my thought. This is, I am happy, I am unhappy. This happy, unhappy, these are the states of the mind. I am not happy, I am not unhappy. I am always in that eternal bliss, tranquility. But as I get identified with the mind, I start thinking that I am happy, I am unhappy, I am angry. All those things which are the states of the mind with which I get identified. We get identified with our decision that I believe in such and such ideology. I am a communist, I am a Democrat. And all these ideas, these ideologies, that's my firm conviction. This is the thing. Through my power, that's what is the difference between the Manomaya and the Vijnanamaya? Mind is having various thoughts. Sankalpa Vikalpatmak Mana. That it will be taking resolutions. Again it will change its mind. It will think of something else. So this Sankalpa Vikalpatmak is the Mana. And Nishchayatmika Buddhi. Through all those discussions, at last I come to a conclusion. Yes, this is the thing which I believe to be true. This is my opinion. So this Nishchayatmika is the Buddhi. So with that also we get identified. Anandamaya Kosha at last. What is that? When we have a nice sleep, deep sleep, we wake up and say, oh, what a nice sleep I had. I was so happy. Or when after some desire is fulfilled, the placidity, the happiness which we feel, with that we get identified. And that's the Anandamaya Kosha with which we are getting identified. So the Vedanta is saying you are not any of these five. You are something beyond that. You are the one who is witnessing all these five states. So don't get identified with them. And that's how the Jnana Yoga speaks of relentless, incessant, constant discrimination. So karma speaks of selfless action, Jnana speaks of this discrimination. What Raja Yoga speaks of? It speaks of focus, concentration, disciplining the mind. That the mind is full of thoughts, it never stops. Just like Bhakti Sutra, there is the Yoga Sutra, Patanjali Yoga Sutra, where the second sutra speaks of the goal of yoga. What it's? Yogas Chitta Vritti Nirodha. To stop this constant, relentless, this thought waves in our mind, this Chitta Vritti. So there is a process for that. With the help of concentration, I get hold of one thought and try to get rid of other thoughts. With the help of ekagrata, I try to get rid of sarvarthata. How it helps? And when my really mind gets ekagra, the mind cannot stay in one thought. And then what happens? The mind collapses. Just to give an example, in this world, everything is flowing. Why it flows? Because there is a polarity. Water flows from higher level to lower level. If both the levels are same, the water won't flow. Electricity flows because there is a difference in potential. If both the ends have same potential, there is no current. Even in magnetism, everywhere we find when the polarity is resolved, the flow stops. Why the mind is mind? Because it's a flow. Chitta vritti. One thought comes, followed by another thought. We will find when we try to meditate how difficult it is. Mind is constantly flowing, jumping from thought to thought. Many say, I cannot meditate. There is a flow of thought. We forget. If I can stop that, immediately I get liberated. Yogas chitta vritti nirodha. The moment you can stop that. So it's the processes, focus, concentrate. If I can somehow keep the mind in one thought, and in that one thought my mind can really remain for quite long, then the mind stops. Otherwise it is constantly breaking into thoughts. This word vritti itself speaks that what it means. That vritti, chitta vritti. Very interesting. Vritti actually doesn't mean waves. Vritti means profession. Very interesting thing. But why we use this term vritti to understand chitta, to understand the thought waves of the mind? Vritti means profession. Our terminologies are very interesting in our scriptures. It has an etymological meaning. The word itself will point to the meaning of what it is saying. What it says, just see the profession. Just take the profession. There are so many professions. There's the doctors, the engineers, the businessman, the professor, the teacher. There are thousands of such professions. Now what does this profession in Sanskrit is called? Vritti. What does that vritti means? Whatever may be my profession, with the help of that profession, I sustain myself. If I am a doctor, by my medical practice, whatever I earn, I sustain myself. An engineer sustains by his profession. A businessman sustains himself or herself by his or her profession. So that way we will find with the profession we sustain ourselves. Very interesting. The chitta is like what? That the conscious principle is like the white light. Chitta, the mind stuff, is like the prism. The white light falling on the prism breaks into the spectrum. This world of name and form is nothing but the spectrum. To go beyond that, I have to get rid of the prism, the mind. And then the spectrum will merge in the white light. Now how to get rid of that prism? That prism is the mind stuff, chitta. How long the chitta remains? As long there is vritti. That is its profession, with which the mind is sustained. So just see how interesting these terms has been coined. And the sutra, how nice. Yoga chitta vritti nirodha. If you can stop, nirodha means to suppress, to stop. If you can stop the vritti, the chitta no more remains. The prism has been removed and the spectrum merges with the white light. The self realizes that it alone exists by its own right. There is no need for the nature to sustain itself. So once this prism, the mind stuff, is removed. And that's the thing by which the yoga, Raja Yoga, through the concentration can take you to the liberation. So the last is bhakti. Now bhakti, what it speaks of? It's very similar to yoga. But it says that meditation, in yoga you are speaking of you're using your willpower. That there are so many thoughts, I have to stop those thoughts with the help of one thought. And I have to use my willpower. Bhakti says the much more easier way is to develop love. When you love something, the thought of that object of your love is always there in your mind, and you will find it is very easy to forget everything else. It is spontaneous. When a lover is thinking of his beloved, you will find the mind is naturally focused. It is constantly thinking of his beloved, and it need not have to use his willpower to forget other things. They automatically are no more there in his mind. His entire existence, his entire mind, his entity is totally absorbed in the thought of the beloved. Just the way when the mother, throughout the day, whatever she is doing, the thought of the son or the daughter, the child, is always there in the mind, is always there in the background of the mind. As Sri Ramakrishna used to say very nicely that make love of God as your toothache. What he indicated by that? That when we have toothache, whatever we may be doing, we can never forget that toothache. It's that ache is always there in the back of my mind, however busy I may be. So Sri Ramakrishna is saying that if you develop love, then the question of distraction spontaneously falls off. Your mind gets focused to the thought of the God, other things falls off, and at last even the ego, that I am this body-mind complex, for that also a part of the mind is required to keep our ego intact. That also is taken away. And then you are in communion with the divine. Everything has fallen off. And that takes you to that eternal companionship of the divine. That's what the devotee wants. That I should be in eternal companionship of the divine, and I should be having that devotion, love. So these are the 4 yogas, the 4 ways to transcend our limited sense of psychophysical entity and to get identified with our higher self. So these are the 4 ways. Now very interesting. All these 4, each of them can take us to that ultimate liberation. Each of the 4 yogas, whether practiced individually or in harmony with others, can lead to spiritual evolution, as has been emphasized by Swami Vivekananda in his introduction to the Raja Yoga. Very nicely is saying. What he's saying is each soul is potentially divine, as the first thing. Second, the goal is to manifest this divinity within by controlling nature, external and internal. I have to control the nature to realize that divinity. And how to do that? Do this either by work, means karma yoga, or worship, bhakti yoga, or psychic control, raja yoga, or philosophy. That is the jnana yoga. By one or more, or all of these, and be free. So this is a wonderful thing which Swamiji is speaking of in the prelude of the small book Raja Yoga of Swami Vivekananda. So these 4 yogas all are quite, they all have that efficacy to take us to that highest spiritual evolution. But we all will agree one thing now, that why bhakti is the easiest. Now, as per the work is concerned, many will say that I am not of that active nature to take so much of projects, work, and then to do it selflessly. It entails in lot of endeavor and constant that awareness that is not that though I am trying to do it selflessly, is the ego somehow creeping up? As Sri Ramakrishna used to say, it is very difficult to get rid of the ego. He used to say in the old building, in an old dilapidated building, you will find sometimes the shoots of banyan tree comes out. Now if you cut the banyan tree, within few days again the shoots will come out. Why? Sri Ramakrishna is saying because the roots have gone deep into the cracks of the dilapidated building. So ego is something like that. It is very difficult to get rid of. You may think I am doing selflessly my actions. But even unknowingly, even it's not in my knowledge, somehow subconsciously I have developed that ego behind my action. So to do selfless work is not easy. First I should have that the tremendous energy for action, and then again that awareness to do it selflessly. It's not easy. To have that tremendous willpower to lead a life as per our discrimination. That once I say I am not the body, not the mind, not the senses, I am the self. It's very easy to say, but it's not that easy to lead the life accordingly. I will just relate one incident which I myself witnessed. I was in our center in Kankhal, near Rishikesh. That's a hospital center. And one very renowned Swami, he was highly venerated, respected in the Sadhu Samaj, among the monks, that who stays there in the Rishikesh and Kankhal. They used to respect him, venerate him a lot. And now he had a massive heart attack, and immediately he was rushed to our hospital. Now it was a massive attack. He just survived for another few days. Now, as he was such a revered, venerated Swami, we all went to see him. And to our surprise, we find tears rolling down his eyes. And we were really surprised that he is such an evolved soul. He's such an evolved soul. Is he afraid of death? Why he is crying? Now he understood what's going on in our mind. And then what he said was really something very interesting. He was really very, very advanced soul. But what he said, that in Hindi I will say and then I will translate. Say, Zindagi bhar vichar karte raha. Zindagi bhar vichar karte raha. Lekin ye dard chupta hai. It's very interesting. That when I was in my health, I was always doing that discrimination. I am not the body, not the mind, not the senses. I am the self. And I thought I am established in it. Now I am about to die. And because of that massive attack, I have a pain. I feel the pain. That's the thing which makes him suffer. He's not that the death caused, that when I was doing the vichara, I said I am not the body. If I am not the body, then I should be detached from this pain which I am experiencing. Because it's just the way when someone else is having the pain. Do I experience the pain? No. Similarly, here also I am supposed to be very, very objective that way. That I am the subject, that is the object. There is no relation. But I feel the pain. It do disturb me. It somehow affects the quality of my vichara in the last moment. I'm getting again and again attached to the body. The pain is distracting me from this discriminative thought. And that makes him suffer. So that's what I say. This vichara is also not that easy. That we may feel, when everything is okay, we may feel I am established in it, but how much really we have really detached ourselves only when, at the moment of crisis, we find out. We find that Swami Vivekananda used to give an example of a stag. Stag is a male deer. It was very well built, muscular. So one day it was bragging to the fawn, the young deer. It was standing by the side of the stag, and the stag was just by the side of a reservoir, seeing its own reflection, and seeing the muscular limbs. It says, see how strong I am. And then from nowhere, this stag heard the barking of a dog, and it started running frantically. The fawn also ran after it. After a long distance, when the stag thought it is safe, it stopped. It was gasping for breath. It was totally out of breath. He was gasping for breath. Now the fawn was very much curious. He is surprised. Well, just now you were so confident about your strength. What happened? What made you so frantic? Why you are so scared? And then he said, I don't know what happens to my confidence the moment I hear the barking of a dog. So in our life also we will find the discrimination. Whenever there is a crisis, the barking of the dog, it makes us forget. It's not easy. It's not that you cannot get established. Yes, the one who is at last went to the realization for him. Then there is no question of getting bewildered, deluded by Maya again. Like Swami Vivekananda says another story, that there was a realized soul, a jnani. He used to sit deep in the forest and always chant, Soham, that I am he, I am he. And one day a tiger came and pounced upon it and dragged him deep into the forest. And the villagers could hear that till the last breath, they could hear that chant was going on. Soham. That never stopped. So he was convinced. So that is possible, but it's not easy. That's the thing. For most of us, we will find, we think that I have got established, but it's not easy. And then this concentration of the mind, we need not have to explain. We all realize how difficult it is to focus the mind. But now if I say that love, in this life, who have not experienced this love? And where is the question of effort? There is no question of effort. It is something spontaneous. There is a spontaneous expression of love in our heart. Is when the child is born, it develops the bondage with the mother. The child loves the mother loves the child. The love is the very first experience of our life, you can say. That unconditional love which we got from our mother. And the love with which we responded to that. That's the very first experience. Even when we have not learned any language, we felt that. Now when say we have to love God through bhakti, we feel that's the easiest thing. We don't have to culture it. It is already there with us. So that's why this Narada says that love, this bhakti is the easiest. Because you are using the faculty of love, which is ingrained in our heart, which is so spontaneous, with which you are proceeding in your spiritual journey. That's the easiest. Now, the question is Bhakti Yoga really that easy? So now, why we think Bhakti is very easy? Because we think love is a mere emotion. It's a type of emotion. But is love just a mere emotion? You will find that as we think love is a mere emotion, that's why there is so much of suffering in life. Especially in the present days. That I love, that's a boy loves a girl, and after that, again, he gets distracted. The love gets focused to someone else. The first love is forgotten, and then with it comes a lot of suffering. And nowadays the idea is that whatever my heart feels, I do. What's the harm in it? Here we have already forgotten what to speak of spiritual life. Even in our day-to-day life, the real meaning of love. Love is not mere emotion. You also will agree if the scriptures say that love is an emotion guided by our willpower. Unless that emotion is guided by the willpower, it can never be termed as love. How? Anywhere, in any field. In our life you will find that when the two teams are going to there's a tournament, a match is going to start, first you will find there is a sort of resolution. They will shake their hands that we will follow the games, it is a friendly way we have to play. All those norms are there, that my love for the game shouldn't make me break those norms. In Olympics, resolution. When a doctor gets his degree, he is about to start his profession, the Hippocratic oath he has to take, speaks of resolution. His love for the profession is guided by that resolution. A politician wins the election, he is now going to become a minister. There is a resolution. He has to take some oath. There is some, some lawsuit. There you find the one who is going in the witness stand, he is taking the oath. That whatever I say should be true. That our love, our passion is guided by the emotion. Not only that. Throughout the world, we say that all the religious traditions vary. But in essence, there are so many things that are so similar. If you just see the wedding ceremony of a Christian, of a Hindu, of a Islam, Muslim, it's all different. But will anyone disagree to the fact that in that wedding ceremony, the main thing is, what is the wedding ceremony? Main thing is, whatever may be the religion, that the bride and the groom is taking an oath that they are going to be faithful towards each other. They're going to be responsible for each other's life. Is there any religion which doesn't speak of that? And all the religions you will find, whenever the wedding ceremony comes, there is a question of inviting guests. Why? Because if you take oath alone, that oath has no meaning. It has to be taken in front of others. That's why we spend so much of money to invite guests, make a huge celebration, because that oath which I am going to take has to be witnessed by others. So what actually we are saying? That the real love comes there where I can guide my emotions with the will. Otherwise it's not love. It all leads to disaster. Where I give a free rein to my emotions, it can lead to disaster. Even in bhakti, that's a very important thing. That when I say love God, now you cannot force love. The mother loves the child, it is spontaneous. But when you say love God, I don't feel any love for God in my heart. How can I love God? So just like in the olden days, like the arranged marriage, the bride, the groom never knew each other, the parents arranged. First the resolution. They don't know each other. First the resolution comes, and then they start leading the life, and then the emotion develops gradually. Bhakti is something like that. I don't feel any love for God. My guide, my spiritual predecessor, my spiritual preceptor, my guru, he initiates me in the way of bhakti and prescribes certain practices, certain mantras, and he says, you have to repeat it, you have to do these practices in the morning, in the evening, every day, the same thing. Again, all the religions, we say that there's so much of variation in their practices, in their beliefs. Is there anything common? Yes, again another thing is common here. Won't you agree that whatever may be my practice may be totally different from yours. But is there any religion which doesn't speak of repetition of that practice? The same prayer I pray every day. The Muslim that is doing the same thing, the Christian is doing the same thing, the Hindu is doing the same thing, whatever. The difference, it is all different. But is there a question of repetition? And that repetition is something which our scriptures prescribe, you have to do. Mandatory. It is not a question of your mood, that today I am not willing, I won't do. Today I am just have the feeling like doing, I will do, otherwise I won't do. No. Whether you like or you don't like, you have to do. So this speaks of that resolution. With that resolution, you have to go on doing your practices, and then that devotion will develop. There is a psychology behind it. What's the psychology? That anything which I do out of necessity, and I go on doing it repeatedly out of necessity, most probably I have no love for it. But if I go on doing out of necessity again and again, our mind is such, is in the modern language of neurology, it is called, our mind is neuroplastic, the neuroplasticity. That what you do again and again, the mind gets wired, as if a path is created in the mind. And once it gets wired, it forgets the necessity, just to do it becomes its obsession. It just likes it. That example which we give again and again in our classes, that suppose that our ancestors, I will just speak of that bit later. First thing, that a small child you will find that has an innate liking for something sweet. A small infant, most probably it's not drinking the milk, and the mother adds a little sugar and immediately it starts drinking. That's why there's so much of fondness for chocolates and other things. It's an innate from birth, as if they have been born with that liking for that sweet. The nature scientists, there is a branch of science is called nature science. They give a wonderful explanation that what has happened in the process of evolution, what has happened. That our predecessors, long back, thousands of years back, our predecessors, when they haven't learned agriculture, cultivation, agriculture, they haven't learned. So they were food gatherers, they were not food producers. Every day they used to go to the forest in search of fruits, roots, herbs, and that was their food. They will collect and they will come back in the evening, and that's what they used to sustain them. Next day again they go out. There is no question of producing. They are just gatherers. Even I was in Northeast India. Still now, if you go to Arunachal Pradesh and other places, that practice is still there. In the morning with a basket, these villagers go out. They have just one sharp thing to cut anything, the vegetation they get in the forest, in the jungle. And the evening they come back with a basket full of all those roots, herbs, greens, whatever they think is the food. Now our predecessors, when we were doing that, now there was a big challenge. In nature, everything is not nourishing. Something can be nutritious, something can be toxic. Now how to find out what is nutritious and what is toxic? In short time they found out that in nature, if anything is sweet, it is never poison. Other test, there is a doubt. It may nourish us, it may kill us. But sweet, if anything is sweet in nature, it's going to, invariably it's going to nourish us, it's not going to harm us in any way. So out of necessity they were in search of sweet fruits, sweet herbs, sweet fruits. And this repeated endeavor for having sweet things, that got as if ingrained in our mind, that created a wiring in our mind, a path in our mind, a neural pathway, and that has been inherited. It has become such an ingrained thing that we inherit that. And once that path is created, we forget the necessity. Just to have sweet things has become our obsession. And that's why you will find in the current day, all the lifestyle diseases are because of that obsession for sweet things. Our obesity, our blood sugar, kidney problems, all the things we will find is obsession for the thing which was necessity. That I became obsessed for that, and in turn it has become something detrimental for us. So this is the thing which we find the way our mind works. All the religious traditions knew that, understood that. And they use the same thing. The mind takes us spirally downwards by getting attached to the thing of necessity, and it takes us to that attachment. So in the words of our scriptures, a fly came to sip the honey and it sat on the honey and its wing got stuck on the honey. Now it cannot fly away. All the obsession does that. But the same working of the mind, all the religious traditions have used in a positive way. That yes, these are the prescribed practices. Your prayers, your japa, your mantra repetition, whatever religious tradition it may be. Do it every day, again and again. Whether I like it or not, do it. That has been prescribed. So take it as a resolution. And then you will find the love is developing. How? By doing it repeatedly, the same thing, the mind gets wired. A path is created in the mind and the love develops. So gradually you will find you have started developing love for that practice. And once you develop love, now there is no need for any insistence, resolution. So your will gets ripened into devotion. Sadhana bhakti becomes sadhya bhakti. So now, just to try to understand, is bhakti that easy? It's also not that easy. So yes, we have that love, but that love has to be guided, channelized and nurtured so that at last it becomes spontaneous. That's why very nicely in our Bhakti Shastras, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, very nicely it has been said that bhakti is something which is there always ingrained in our heart. It is in the form of bud. It is in the form of this small bud. It is yet to blossom. What's the way it can be blossomed? Go on taking the Lord's name. In time, it will blossom. That in Bengali, that line is, Ei Horinam Nite Nite Bhakti Mukul Futbe Chite. Chite means in your chitta, in your mind stuff, that the bud of bhakti will blossom. Go on taking, go on taking. So that's the basic science between the sadhya and sadhana. The sadhana and sadhya. Through practice, I reach there. Even in our Bhagavatam discussion, that these were the two bhaktis we were speaking of. So now you will find that yes, love is something which we did not have to really build. It is already there. But it has to be guided, channelized and nurtured so that it gets ripened into a spontaneous bhakti. And once you attain that, then there is no fear. As in Bhagavad Gita it has been mentioned very nicely. What it has been mentioned? That swalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Practice a little. It will save you from the great danger. What actually is indicating? The same thing. Practice a little. Once you develop that love, now even someone comes and just speaks against your belief, your religion. He may be rationalizing with full of rationality, he may be rationalizing and he may convince you that your way of life is something irrational. And you stop your practice, but as you have developed love, within 2 days you will find you are again back to your practice. So that developing that love, we sometimes think that that our responsibility is to explain the religion to our young ones. Yes, of course it is required, but more important than that is the practice with which they can develop a little love. That's why we say that from the small child, whether he likes it or not, keep him in that environment, that where all the bhakti practices are going on. You're just going to the temple, there's some kirtan, there is some bhajan. Let him be there. Let him even unconsciously, unknowingly soak in so that he develops love for that. That is more important than the rational understanding. If that is there, then we can be saved from the great danger. Nothing can deviate us, and that will take us to that ultimate goal. So, now we will understand that though bhakti, Narada says, is the easiest, we shouldn't be deluded in thinking that it is that easy. Of course, it is something inherent, but it has to be cultured, and that only can take us to the spiritual evolution. So the introduction, a little few more aspects has to be spoken of, which we will again take up in the next class. I think in the next class we will be entering to the first sutra. We will start the first sutra. But before entering into the discussion of the first sutra, a few more aspects which we feel is required for discussion before we start the discussion on the aphorisms, that we will take up and then proceed to the aphorisms. So with this, we stop our discussion today. Thank you all. Namaskar.